Hello, welcome to another episode of THP Tutorials. We are back again with another discipline, right? Now, this is our first video, the introductory video for business policy and strategy. As usual, we'll be tackling the whole course, and you are welcome to week one of business policy and strategy. I'm Seth, and this is the Haven Project, THP Tutorials. Right, good. So for this first video and the first chapter in business policy and strategy, we'll be looking at these objectives, right? So we'll talk about strategic management in this first video. Basically, strategic management and strategy, right? Good. So the first objective for this video will be strategic management. We'll define it. We'll talk about it. We'll look at the characteristics of a strategic decision. We'll look at the types and levels of strategy within an organization. The strategic management process, the key terms and concepts in strategic management, but not just strategic management, but also in the whole discipline, right? In the whole course, which is business policy and strategy. We also look at the benefits and pitfalls of strategic management. We'll get on with that business right after the intro. Welcome back from that intro. Let's get down to business. Strategic management. What is strategic management, right? So here it says that strategic management is the art and science of formulating, implementing, and evaluating cross-functional decisions that allow an organization to achieve its long-term goals, right? As usual, we are going to break this down, right? I want to break it down to its basic elements. Obviously, what else would we break it down to? So art and science, no. Formulating, implementing, and evaluating. Right. Now these three action words, right? Those verbs that are seen there, formulating, implementing, and evaluating, are very important. These three things basically sum up the entire course of business policy and strategy. So it's important to pay attention to this definition and understand what the entire course is about. Very good. We said that strategic management is the art and the science of formulating, implementing, and evaluating what cross-functional decisions. What do we mean by cross-functional? Right? Inside of an organization, there are departments in the organization, right? The organization is basically made up of departments, right? We have finance, accounting, operations, you have research and development, so on and so forth. Good. The point being made here is that business, when you talk about strategic management, it involves the entire organization, right? So the organization as a whole. So whatever we are, the decisions that we formulate, the ones that we would implement, the ones that we evaluate, concern and have to do with what? All the departments in the organization. Hence the term cross-functional, right? Across functions, right? Across the departments. That's the first part, right? Good. Now, these cross-functional decisions that allow an organization to achieve its long-term goals. Why does an organization exist, right? We all exist for a purpose, or we should find a purpose to exist. Are you with me? So every organization that begins is set up with an aim. In ordinary parlance, an organization is a group of people who come together as a collective to achieve a common goal, right? So everybody has something that they do to contribute to achieving that goal. So just like with a business, the business has various departments within it, which helps it what achieve its goal. So research and development will have their own function. Accounting has their own function. Finance has its own function. And by them each performing their functions, it enables the organization to what achieve its goal or goals. Very good. The point being made here is that in an organization, the rationale behind strategic management is to ensure that the organization does three things. They formulate, implement, and evaluate what their decisions or their strategy. So if you come down here, realize that I've done it, right? Long-term goals is equal to what their vision and mission. Now, if you've had the opportunity to go through most of the courses that we have on this channel, vision and mission in relation to an organization is something that's quite common. Vision is what the organization is going to do, and then the mission is what how they will do it, right? So vision as in vision statement, and it's also what mission statement. So vision, what the organization plans to do, their reason for existence. Now the mission would then be what the mission statement would spell out how the organization plans to achieve what it set out to achieve, right? So the vision is where are we going? And the mission is how we are going to get there. Are you getting it? So that's what the long-term goals mean. Now, when we get to the key terms and, and concepts in strategic management, it will enable us to appreciate what we mean by long-term goals very well. Now, decisions over here can also be substituted to say what strategy. So if you were to substitute these key terms into the definition of business policy, we could simply say that business and strategic into the definition of strategic management, we could say that what strategic management is the art and science of formulating, implementing, and evaluating cross-functional strategies that allow an organization to achieve its long-term, to achieve its vision. Its vision. That's a better way to say it. Right. Now, at this point, we have clearly established what organization strategic management involves what thinking about or making, doing, and what reviewing your strategy or your decisions. So you said that those decisions are called strategy, or you can refer to them as what strategic decisions. So move on to the second objective, right? This one standing for the first to two, right? So that's what it means. So characteristics of a strategic decision. One, long-term impact, right? In the context of business policy, when we talk about the long-term impact, or sorry, the long-term objectives, it covers 2 to 5 years. 2 to 5 years. It could be more, it could extend, but 2 to 5 years. It's not 1 year, right? In terms of business policy, when we talk about 1 year is actually short term rather than long term. So what the strategic decisions have long term impact, right? They will have an effect on the organization in the long term, in years to come. Significant resource allocation, right? Now, what I always use as an example for this one is what if you were to plan your make a budget for your feeding, right, for food in a single week, right? That versus you making your budget plans for the entire year. Obviously, the budget for your food for the entire year would be what it would require significant resources. It will require more money, way more money than you would in a week. So that's what we mean by here. Because the strategic decisions, because they are long term, they require more resources. So they have significant resource allocation to them. They involve higher management levels, right? At this point, we must also know that what the various levels of management in an organization. There's the top, the middle, then the lower, or the first line or second line. Now we have what? Alignment with organizational goals, right? A company shouldn't take a strategic decision or a long-term decision which is deviating from the organizational goals, right? It should be in line with achieving what the organization has set out to achieve. Then influence on competitive advantage. Now, competitive advantage is very crucial, right? Now, an organization will succeed or has succeeded or is succeeding when it is achieving its goals, right? So think of it like the African system of education. Unlike in other parts of the world, in Africa, students in a class are ranked based on who is the best or who performs better than everybody else. Right. So the first in class is somebody who had more marks than anyone else. I get it. The last in class had the least marks. So think of the students like an organization and the classroom like an industry. Everyone is competing to be the best. No one wants to be number two. They want to be number one. Right? Now to be number one, if you would look back in those days, maybe if you're the first in class, if you are like me and you're behind, you would remember that whenever you look at those first students, those first, even first 10, those people, they had a different way of studying, right? Sometimes the kids who were first, when they go home, they don't watch TV. They are always learning. Their parents are always on them, right? There was basically no fun in their lives. Now, we can refer to that as what? Their competitive advantage. That discipline that was inculcated into them is what gave them the edge over their friends in the classroom. And that is why they were always first, right? Now, there were other students who had the natural acumen. They didn't need to study over and over again, but rather they had everything set for them, right? Some can sit in class, the teacher explains this, that, and that, then they're okay. They don't need to go and sit down and revise. It's in their brains, right? So that's what we could refer to as what a natural advantage they would have or they had over their peers, right? So everyone who has a success story or everyone who is doing extremely well in the industry or in the classroom is an organization or a student who had a competitive advantage. In the coming chapters, we will talk more about a competitive advantage and why it's so important to have. Right? So we'll go for a break, then we'll continue with our outline. Welcome back from the intro. So we'll continue with the third and fourth items on the outline. The third was level types and levels of strategy. Good. With the levels, there's a corporate strategy, a divisional or strategic business unit strategy. There's a functional strategy. And then also the operational strategy. These four are for the big companies. So if you have a big organization that's doing very well, then they would have these, you know, they will have uh, these four levels. But for the rather smaller organizations, they would have only the first three, right? So you include the operational when the operational comes in when you have a big organization. Right? Good. So that's that. Now, there are types of strategy which can be employed at this various level. There's a vertical integration strategy. There, we have intensive strategies. We have diversification strategies, and then what? Defensive strategies. With these ones, we will go into more detail as we progress down the line. So we'll just list them here. Right. Now, the strategic management process, SMP. That refers to the logical, objective, systematic approach for making major decisions in an organization. A simpler way to put this definition, right, is that the strategic management process is the way strategies are formulated or made inside an organization, right? The way organizations make their decisions or the way organizations implement their strategy. There are three steps. There's a strategy formulation, the implementation, and then the evaluation, right? So once again, these words have popped up, right? Formulation, implementation, and what? Evaluation. Of course, here they are in the noun form, right? However, that's what the entire course is about. Formulating the strategy, implementing it, and then evaluating it. Now, there is more to each of these phases in the process than meets the eye. The strategic, the strategy formulation phase like this. It involves the mission and mission statement. You conduct an environmental assessment. That's why you have your internal audit and then the external audit. You deal with the strategies in action, and then you look at your strategic analysis. All this goes into the first phase. So as I said, there's a lot to each of them that meets the eye. Of course, as we are going down the line, we will take a look at each of these things. Good. So this is what strategic management process is all about. We'll take a break. After the break, we would look at the fit and then the sit items on the outline. We'll see you soon. Right. So there was a fault, a complication with the audio, and then the mic cut. So this is how you talk about it now, right? So we're on the fit and sit item in the agenda, right? In the outline. And the fit was what? Key terms and concepts in strategic management. And then we had the benefits and pitfalls in strategic management, right? So I will go through the key terms and concepts once again. So we have competitive advantage. We talked about that. Strategist and then strategy, right? Those are the people who are involved in strategic management or in creating the strategies for a company. Then there's the vision and mission, spoken about it, external opportunities and threats, then internal opportunities and threats, right? So when you say external opportunities and threats, it's referring to what? Opportunities and threats. And then the internal, that what? Strengths and weaknesses. So opportunities and threats are external. Strengths and weaknesses are what? Internal. Then you see, that I highlighted what the long-term objectives and then the annual short-term objectives, right? So in a company, when you say long-term objectives, it's usually from 2 to 5 years, right? So that's the long-term, 2 to 5 years. It could be more than 5 years. But so the annual objectives that are seen there is what? Year by year objectives, right? So and the year by year objectives are the short-term objectives, right? So in 5 years time, we want to build a house. So maybe another the first year, we'll look for money. Second year, we'll look for land. Right. So those are short-term objectives that will help you achieve your long-term goals. So long-term objectives, and then annual objectives. Another name for the annual objectives would be what? Short-term objectives. Now, long-term objectives are achieved through a strategy, but short-term objectives are achieved through what? Policies. So when you hear policies, that's how we achieve short-term objectives. So you realize it's in bracket, right? You have what? The long-term objectives, then there's strategy there. Short-term objectives, then there's what? Policy over there. Good. Now for the benefits, they are classified into two. There's the financial benefits and then the non-financial benefits. All right, non-financial benefits. So for the non-financial benefits, I'll start with the financial phase. The first is to significantly improve sales, profitability, and productivity. Right? That's what strategic management does. It helps the firm to significantly improve their sales, profitability, and productivity. The second is ability to do systematic planning to prepare for future changes in a business environment. So it enables them to prepare for what? Systematic changes in a business environment. Right? But for the non-financial, right? With those ones, we talk about more organization. It makes the organization more proactive. It allows to initiate and influence the organization. Right. They also have enhanced awareness of external threats, improved understanding of competitors' strategies. Then you have what? Increased employee productivity as well. Now the pitfalls. So when you talk about pitfalls, what do you mean by pitfalls? Right? What are the downsides of strategic management? Or what harm can strategic management cause to a business? Right. So the first is using strategic planning to gain control over decisions and resources, right? So in the name of strategic planning, some of the executives of a company can just collude and get access to the company's resources, right? And they can misuse it anyhow they want. So it's a risk when you talk about strategic management. Also, the second here says doing strategic planning only to satisfy accreditation or regulatory requirements, right? Now, in every industry, there are regulations, there are institutions that regulate the firms in that industry. So there could be firms who are just doing those things because they are supposed to do them. No, they're trying to avoid trouble. So they don't really have ambition to be the best in the market, but they just do it in the name of regulations. So when that happens, they don't pursue it rigorously enough. So they don't get the results, right? So the shareholders will be somewhere thinking that, oh, they are doing strategic management, but they're not really doing it for the benefit of the firm. They're just trying to stay out of trouble. Moving on, we have haste move from mission development to strategy formulation, right? So you can fall back on this that I'm going to talk about, right? Mission development falls under here. So we are saying that when we move from here to here too quickly, it can derail the progress of the organization, right? Because strategy is all about setting the company in a certain direction. If they go in the wrong direction because they didn't plan well, later on they will now realize that, oh, we've we made a mistake. We shouldn't have gone in this direction, but then it will be too late, right? So one of the pitfalls in strategic management is that when that hastiness happens, the the company will pay dearly for it. The other pitfalls include not using plans as a standard for measuring performance, right? Planning is looking forward, control is looking back. When you set the plans, you have to use those plans to control your activities. You don't just make the plan for the sake of making a plan, right? When you make a budget, you stick to it. So when you're exceeding your budget, you know that what you have to cut some things off, and that's the only way you can succeed, by earning more than you are spending. Moving on, you have not involving key employees in all phases of planning, right? So this is speaking to democracy, right? The people who are making the strategies should ensure that all stakeholders, especially the employees who play a key role, are involved in the planning process, so that they feel and know that it's not just somebody's plan they're implementing. They have a sense of belonging, and they would want to see the company get to where it's going. So that's a pitfall when you don't include the employees who are relevant in the planning process. The last year is not creating a collaborative climate supportive of change, right? When you know a climate that supports change, it just destroys everything, and it makes it difficult for progress or for the company to move in a certain direction in unison, right? So that's all for the first week of business policy and strategy. We'll catch you in the next video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you very much. With regards to the business policy and strategy, here you have a diagram. Now, this diagram is of the strategic management model. So it's basically a summary of the entire course that we're doing, right? So you see, it starts with what? Vision and mission statement. Then you have the internal and then the external assessment. That makes up the environmental assessment. They have strategies and action, strategy analysis and choice, right? So look at this portion. See, from here to here, that's what. So from 2, 4, 3, 4, 5, and 6, that would make up strategy formulation, right? Now from here to here, that will be what? Implementing strategies, management and marketing issues. Then you have implementing strategies, right? Finance and accounting issues, right? So that will be the implementation. And the last will be evaluation. That's when you evaluate the strategy and then the governance, right? So that's a more detailed elaboration of the process of strategic management, right? Good.